ever got away with as a teenager. So my sister and I were going to spend the weekend at my stepdad's, and I asked my parents if I could bring a friend. My dad said he didn't care, and my stepmom said no. And my parents were really strict. But obviously I did not listen. So I invited my friend, and her parents were also really strict. So we came up with this elaborate plan that I would ask her parents and tell them that it was a surprise for her. And they believed it. So the day comes whenever we're supposed to leave to go up to my stepdad's. So, we get off the bus, walk to my house, and my stepmom was asleep because she worked night shifts. So I was able to sneak my friend through the house to my bedroom. Little did she know she was going to have to hide in the closet. So my stepmom came in and needed to borrow a pair of socks for work. And I was literally guarding the closet with my life. And she goes, "Get away from the closet, you're acting so suspicious. What's in there?" Like for part 2, by the way, Stacy and Candace, if you see this, my bad.
Story time about my manipulative ex-boyfriend. So whenever we first started dating, he was really sweet. We would hang out all the time, and we had such good chemistry. And we were Snapchatting because I lived like a few hours away from him. And he goes, "All my exes have hurt me in the past." Now us women, that makes us think, "Oh, I want to be the girl who doesn't hurt him." And I was like, "Well, how many ex-girlfriends have you had?" He goes, "Like 9. And at that time, I was blinded about how happy I was to be dating him to actually realize that was a red flag. And then this motherfucker says, "So please don't be mad at me if I do something that might hurt you. It's just because I've been hurt so many times." Implying if he were to cheat on me, I shouldn't be mad because he's been hurt so many times. Red motherfucking flag alert, bitch. Like for part 2.
Story time of one of my many embarrassing moments in high school. So my sophomore year, I was talking to this guy, and we had been talking for 4 months, and he didn't want to date me. I didn't know that until one of his friends said, "Oh yeah, he's just using you to do stuff." And I'm surprised he let it drag on for 4 months because I didn't do anything with him. But now looking back at it, he would always ask me to come over when his parents weren't home. So anyways, I really liked him, he broke my heart, and yeah. So the next day I had school, and I had a class with him. And all of his friends were in that class too. And I planned on ignoring everybody and just keeping my headphones in. Well, one of his friends asked me if I was okay. Bad idea. The waterworks started and I started sobbing in class in front of everybody. I felt so bad for him. He just asked if I was okay. And guys, everybody was staring at me. It was so bad I had to be removed from class. Extremely toxic best friend story time. So when I was in 8th grade, there was this boy. And this boy would go around telling almost every girl that he liked her. And I was one of those girls. And he would do stuff with all of us. And there were like 11 of us. So we all hated each other. Especially this one girl, and we're gonna call her Abby. And every time we saw each other, we would be super mean to each other. Well, a year passed, we stopped talking to this kid, and I bumped into her at homecoming and basically apologized. So after that, we became best friends. And everything was good until every time I told her about a guy, she would start talking to them. Like this one boy that I was Snapchatting and talking to, she accidentally sent nudes to him and said, "Oh, sorry, I meant to send them to my boyfriend." So then she called one of my other best friends and said, "No, it actually wasn't an accident." And of course he told me because he was my best friend. So I was like, whatever, and stopped talking to the boy. And she did it again, like for part 2. Extremely toxic best friend part 2. So pretty much her excuse for that was, "Oh, well, he said that he was gonna leak my nudes if I didn't send him them again." Which was a lie because literally half the school already had her nudes. So then I started talking to this other boy. And he lived like right down the street from her. So she was like, "If you want to go to his house, you can." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, just go tell my mom." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went and told her mom where I was going and went over his house. So I walked back to her house and she literally locked me out. Like her mom had to come open the door for me to let me in. And she was like, "Oh, it's a good thing you came back when you did. Because I was going to drive you home now and tell your dad everything that you did." And she goes, "I don't think you guys should be together because you're unexperienced." And she would always tell me how he flirts with her all the time. So after our friendship ended, she goes, "I just felt like it was always a competition between me and you." Story time about how my best friend and I used to get away with hanging out with boys. So my friend and I's parents were really strict. which meant no hanging out with boys, not even if a parent was there. And we would always come up with these elaborate lies to do stuff that we weren't allowed to do. And we were in high school, so we really wanted to go hang out with one of our guy friends. So we came up with this plan where we would tell them that we were going to a football game because it was a Friday, and that an Uber was coming to pick us up. And there really was no Uber, it was actually just our guy friend coming to pick us up. But since my dad didn't let me go in Ubers, we had to go to my best friend's house. And her parents were fine with it because they loved me and thought that I was the most perfect child on earth. So we get in our Uber and we just go to his house and hang out the whole time. I literally don't even know how we got away with this because it was the same exact car every time and the same exact Uber driver every time. Okay, part 2. Okay, so pretty much what happened after that is she called and she found out that it wasn't my dad. And then she went digging and she called my sister to the office and she was like, "What's your dad's phone number?" And my sister was like, "Why? Don't you guys have it already?" And I also put the same numbers for my sisters so that